say to myself, what the heck is wrong with me? Why did I agree to do this? Hi, how is everybody? You all want to be home and eating dinner or in your room and on Snapchat or wherever you young people do that. But as Samuel was telling you, I'm Lisa Vento-Nielsen. I'm a breast cancer survivor. Yes, it's true. I only got one boob. The other one tried to kill me. And I'm here to talk to you tonight, not just like this woe is me tale, because you know what? It can happen to anybody. Breast cancer affects 1 in 8 women. And it also affects 1 in 10,000 men. FYI, men, you have boobs too. Did you know? No, right? No. So it's an honor to talk to you guys at the Student Nursing Association, and I wanted to talk a little bit about me and also talk about people who helped me tremendously through this, dare I say, shit show called cancer, and those were my nurses, okay? So it's not all about me tonight. I'm going to talk to you about my nurses so you won't fall asleep, and I swear I timed this shit. It's like 6 minutes, so got this. I have taught here. I've taught in the business department for many years, so I'm kind of comfortable talking in front of a group of people, but every time I do it, I'm scared to death. So, but after cancer, not much scares me. I was diagnosed at 39 years old. I had no genetic component. There was no reason why I should have gotten cancer. Before cancer, I was an executive, an entrepreneur, a mom, a wife, a daughter. I ran 3 businesses. I taught, and then once I was diagnosed with cancer, I was just a cancer patient. There's really no time to do anything else. My kids were basically put on autopilot. If there was a camp, like whenever you want to invent this, a camp where you could send your kids while you're going through chemo, I would give you all my money to have taken my kids throughout my 8 rounds of chemo. So I was ashamed and I was horrified that my body had failed me, right? So I had never been hospitalized before. I had never been sick. The only thing I'd ever done was give birth, right? And that's like a joke today. I mean, you could basically do that in your bathroom, right? I wouldn't recommend it, just saying the drugs are good. So, like, don't do that. But not only was I sick, I was the kind of sick that makes people take 3 steps away from you, cross themselves, and say, thank God it's not me, right? Trust me, that's the kind of sick I was. And technically, as much as you could say that I'm good, you know, cancer is something that you just never know, right? It's like one of those, pop up, surprise. So you don't realize how thin the line is between health and sick until you get the phone call that changes your life that says, I'm sorry, but it's cancer. However, if someone you love or someone you know really well was diagnosed, you might know what I'm talking about, and every single one of you in your nursing career are going to understand just how thin that line is. How a patient can look okay and then code on you. How someone can get that phone call and you have to be there to help them, right? Because we all know doctors aren't really the best at bedside manners, right? You all know that, right? This is no surprise, is it? So, I went to do my mammograms only because my doctors told me to. I knew I would never get cancer. I was wrong. We think we understand risk, right? We don't. Risk is something that humans try to convey to try to understand like how it can't happen to me. Well, it's all bullshit, sorry, but it could happen. In April 2016, that was when I was diagnosed. I had just turned 39. I wasn't even 40 years old yet. I had a 6- and 9-year-old at home. That was fun, telling them I had cancer. I had breastfed for a bit, so when they saw a minor calcification in my milk duct, they were like, don't worry about it. It's nothing, 98% chance it's going to stay benign. They were wrong. I started teaching full-time in September 2016. I had worked part-time and run my own businesses before that, but thankfully I kept that follow-up. They saw something different this time, and they told me, okay, listen, it's November, it's right around the holidays, come back, we're going to do a biopsy. And I went back for that biopsy really convinced that it was going to be a false alarm, that everything was going to be fine. But unfortunately, I was told that it was cancer. They told me, listen, just expect the call. The doctor was really young though, and there's a point for why I'm telling you this. So I was in shock. I knew it was true, but my mom was here tonight and was taping me because like, hello, I'm like, I want to be famous.
Hi.
I'm totally shitting you. I don't have 2 boobs. I can't be famous. Anyway, so I was in shock. And I knew it was true, but my mom was like, you don't have cancer, it's impossible, I'm going Christmas shopping. I love you, Mom, but that's, you know, basically what she said. My father said, listen, that doctor was young, they don't know what they're talking about, they're not right either. And my husband, who takes the cake, was like, if you had cancer, the dog would have told us. What the fuck kind of power does my dog have? And like, do you guys know about this? Because my dog didn't tell me. Did I meet him? No, he's so cute. So I was just like, what? So of course I get phone call, you have cancer, and it basically makes you wish for yesterday. It makes you wish for the problems that you thought were so big and so insurmountable. Because no matter what, no matter how old you are, whether you're in your 20s like you lovely, gorgeous people, or you're in your 40s like this old hag, we don't think about mortality. We don't really ever think that it could happen to us, that things could end, that our life could change so radically. I wouldn't have made it through without my family, friends, and the love and support I've been given. But I want to tell you about my nurses. Because without them, I probably wouldn't be standing here today with this big ass smile on my face, because sometimes I just think I'm stupid. I was stage 3 breast cancer. It was in 5 out of 25 nodes. I had no lump, no symptoms, no nothing. If I had waited a little longer, I probably would have been stage 4 de novo, which is a death sentence, right? Metastatic breast cancer is a death sentence. It's the only kind you theoretically die from, although some people die from earlier stages, okay? So my nurses, when I was first diagnosed, I walked into that hospital in New York City. I went to Sloan Kettering, and everybody acted like they loved and they cared for me, which, I mean, is ridiculous because they didn't even know me. I was just walking in the door. When I woke up from my mastectomy, where, you know, you got the drains in and like you got bandages where a boob used to be, and like literally I couldn't even look in the mirror because I didn't even want to see what it looked like. I was joking with the nurses and I told them, they were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "It could always be worse. I might not have been able to get surgery. If it had spread, I couldn't get surgery." And they each looked at me with tears in their eyes, thinking about other patients they have seen, and said, "Yeah, you're right. It could have been worse." By the end of my first night there, I had every nurse on the floor hanging out with me, laughing, joking inappropriately. We were abusing my husband. It was awesome. Only get married if you could abuse them. Otherwise, I mean, and not really physically. I mean, he's bigger than me. It's just funny abusing. So here I was, a 40-year-old mom of 2. My body was mutilated to keep me alive. And those nurses just looked at me and said, "You're right." And through my 8 rounds of chemo, it was the nurses who held my hand and told me even though I was bald, I was beautiful. They were lying, okay? Think about what you look like without hair. It is hideous. Eyebrows are your friends. Without eyebrows, it's not pretty. So I was petrified for my first chemo. And I mean, who wouldn't be, right? They're gonna put God knows what into your veins, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, I have 2 kids at home. Like, what is this gonna do to me? Am I gonna survive this chemo? And my nurse looked at me and she said, "You look a little nervous. You know we're just doing this as a precaution, right? They got all that cancer out of you when they operated on you, honey. This is just in case." That was a question I was too freaking afraid to ask my doctors. I couldn't look at my doctors and ask them that question because I was afraid of what they were gonna say. And this nurse took one look at me, saw my face, and told me, "What are you worried about? You're good. This is just in case." That's the power you have as nurses, okay? That without that, I would not be standing up here today smiling at you because I'd be still sitting in the corner, like curled up in a ball going, no, not cancer, no. She changed my whole cancer trajectory, right? Instead of sitting here scared and afraid, I turned it around and I laughed about it, and I was able to get these nurses to talk to me, and I even tried to set one of them up with my brother, because my brother's pathetically single. I mean, it's really sad. Like, someone should marry him. He's 40, he lives in Arizona now, he's taking wives. And I really tried to hook them up, because I was like, "Theory, I love you. You're the best nurse ever. Like, why don't you marry my brother?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." So I wrote in love notes. It didn't work. My brother screwed it up. So this is what your path and your life can do. In treating patients, you can change their lives. You can make them see the bright side. You can wipe their tears, you can make connections, and you can be blessed by them too, but it's not easy. Through that, you will see loss. You will have doctors brush by you and tell you don't know what you're doing. You'll have patients that yell at you. You'll have patients that just don't appreciate you. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a patient who's like me, who's going to stand up in front of a group of 250 freaking people and tell them about you, about what you did to change their lives. And I guess that's why you're here. Yeah? No, that's not why you're here. Is it the money? Did I fuck up again? Did I choose the wrong major? Damn it. All right. So as for me, I'm good. I survived the right mastectomy, lymph node extraction, 8 rounds of chemo, 33 rounds of radiation. Do you think I have that memorized or what? I'm on a clinical trial because hopefully, like, they're gonna just use whatever I do as science to kind of prove a way to find a cure or to help people. I run 3 miles a day. I run a nonprofit. I've written books. I speak, I go everywhere to kind of just spread the word that everyone should know their bodies. If you're not feeling yourself up once a month, you're doing something wrong. Feel it on the first. Men, women, get lucky with yourself. You might find something. Know that there's no such thing as a breast cancer like risk factor. I was never fitting any of those qualities that are tied in with someone who should worry about breast cancer, and yet I got it. I blog at supermombc.com. I'm on Instagram. I try to be cool like you young people. It's really sad. My nonprofit is called Balance After Cancer, and I do free work readiness training because after chemo, after cancer, the last thing you want to do is sit on a job interview and be asked the question, so what's your biggest challenge? And you're like, cancer. They don't like that answer. It's not a good one. So I help people figure out how to do that. So I wish you all wonderful luck in your nursing careers. I thank you in advance for your kindness and letting me speak to you and tolerating the fact that I curse like a sailor. And thank you for your service and your skill and what you will do for others. Thank you so much.